Gods, immortal, eternal, vague in power, vague in purpose, but all types of intriguing. Gods run all different forms of fiction, regardless if you see them in the form of mythology, folklore, legend, or religion. Coming from God of War, anime, comics, where the case may be. People like Radagon of the Golden Order, enforcer of it, and champion side, versus Zeus, the father of Kratos, killer of Kratos, king of Olympus, big dog himself. With the blade of Olympus in hand, stands one of the most mightiest gods of Olympus, to even the most mighty. In today's video, you see by the title, I'm here to go and explain to you why, proudly, Radagon versus Zeus is completely one-sided.
To that level, make them dig their own grave with their own shovels. Sharpshooter, drop helicopters, blackout shadows. When it's time to ride, it's like hell to the metal. Full-fledged, beat suicidal, leave hoes with skull heads. Hit your coat for your boat, leave them all dead. Answer, nice white game plus handsome. Hoes hold me, ransom, get mad, throw tantrums. Set a rage like Samson, strength of Job. Since niggas want a trip, I make it.
Radagon of the Golden Order, the enforcer side of Queen Medica. Top dog of the Elden Ring pantheon, arguably from a narrative main game perspective, as one of the most intimidating and powerful figures that the Eternals will have to face at the end of the game. When it comes down to his power broker, he will be the most strongest opponent that the Eternals arguably have to go and face when it comes down to the general layout of the game. So with this being said, consistently he would be at his lowest end multi-solar system, ascending over multiple former people that people in the high-end part of the Elden Ring pantheon scale over, like Malekith, Posidasax, Godfrey, and others who should have comparable scaling to being that, and then universal, because he would scale over all these people's greater layering of stuff, scale over one of his children, in this case Ryan the Witch, who's able to create a universal pocket dimension within the second phase of Renala's boss fight, and at the same time holds all these different hierarchy statements and stands for the case of the power of her magic. He also, because of the fact of him inheriting the Golden Order and the Greater Will, with being second Elden Lord technically, would harvest the power of the Earth Tree a little bit within his being, making him reasonably universal. When it comes down to speed, he would be easily massively hypersonic. He's able to go ahead and deflect / parry multiple projectiles that can be considered that. He's able to go ahead and become literal light of the Golden Order as an incantation and be able to speed blitz and boom around the Tarnish, and at the same time throw light in different commission and stuff and scanning over a bunch of these different characters. Reasonably should get him massively faster than light. You could proudly get him, as again he is narratively and gameplay wise one of, if not the toughest opponent the Tarnish would objectively need to face. So with that being said, you can get him because of the Tarnish scaling over Posidasax and other characters that scale to him, or are flat out stronger than him. People like Bale, the case of him, Radagon himself, same time with Queen America, Penite Perceive Godfrey, and maybe some others that are able to go and fight beings or even exist in a plane absent of time or beyond time. So with this being said, this will make the Tarnish consistently low end, infinite to inaccessible speed, meaning that Radagon does not need time or any matter of that reality to transfer his speed. His speed is beyond that scale. That's Radagon in a nutshell when it comes down to his power scaling bits. When it comes down to who Radagon was a fire giant, possibly before the fact that he became the other side of Queen America, as all former fire giants are not the same size as shown in the mountaintops of the giants, and at the same time going for the size of his son, Radon, Rykar, the eyes of them, multiple accounts, his red fame hair, the fact that he has distastefulness and dislike to it, unlike Radon, who sees as profound honorable mention, aka what he probably said, in quote, "I was born a champion's cub. Now I am the king of the battlefield's lion," end quote. Radon's words himself, and this is shown within the DLC and all different aspects of his character. his gray skin, before even becoming a stone person, and all different accounts and different record. He became a part of Queen America if he wasn't the same person at first, because of the greater will enforcing that into play because of their marriage bond, him dumping Renala to full enforce and stay in the crop of the Golden Order, especially because he only married Renala as a truce and accompanying land for the Golden Order. He was marching down an army and all of his path for it, and possibly being kicked out from the Fire Giants. So because the Fire Giants are the ginger form bred people when it comes down to the case of hair and being of red fame fire, anything of that colossal stand in the matter of aesthetic or origination of where that type of heroic but also fearfulnism of this iconic hair comes from, which every person that reps red hair or something of the elegance of a furious but also very inspirational case of hair comes from that. And with that being said, with his marriage to Queen America, either with him being Queen America the whole time, coming together, the fact that their child Mesmer and others and all different accounts of technically being children of this and this and that would make him be that. But besides Radagon's history, time to go and talk about Zeus, the king of Olympus. Zeus, the king of the gods, god of the sky, god of lightning, the most powerful Greek god in the Greek pantheon. He was born of Rhea and Kronos. Kronos, titan of time, god of time, usurper of Uranus, god of the universe, and the spark of the Greek cosmology, pretty much. When he and the rest of his siblings were born, of the case of the original basic 12 gods, there was a fate destined by the fates of Greek mythology, aka the Greek pantheon of god of war, where any form of type of fatherhood that Kronos would have would involve later on the death of him, of one of his children. One of his children would usurp him and take his throne, kill him like he did his father Uranus. In this case of possible fear and death, this man, Kronos, decided he would devour his children one by one so there would be no possible threat. And depending on the case of the interpretation in Greek myth, he would actually devour his children and somehow they would be alive, or he would just swallow them whole when they were little bitty babies, as being a big ass titan. Rhea saw all of her children that were said to be born of this date or just being birthed being devoured one by one, and said enough is enough when Zeus was born, as she had love for this little bitty child, seeing something great in him that she never saw before. So she asked for this man Zeus's pet eagle later on in the future to take him away to his grandmother Gaia of Earth, where he was raised and became the golden shining god of the sky that we know he would. Eventually he would free his brothers and sisters from the belly of Kronos by having him drink an elixir, leaving nothing but a vomit of his children, being the case of Hades, Poseidon, Demeter, Hestia, Hera, his later on queen, and his sister at the same time. It's Greek mythology, run with it. And most importantly, the case of all the people he needed in the great war against the Titans. The Titans that were aligned with Kronos, as Kronos wanted obviously to rebel against his children that wanted to take him out, would also involve Gaia herself, as Zeus wanted to rain down nothing but heavenly fury upon the Titans because of the actions of his father. The sins of his father would lay waste to all the Titans, and came the great war said by Atlas, a war that raged like no other, where Kronos was almost having his soul took away by his own child Hades, god of the underworld. But Atlas would instead have his soul in a greater rule of his power drained from him within the help of Poseidon, in the mix of the great war to destroy the entire Titan's capabilities to do anything and defeat all odds, within this case, be it in the case of all matter of Titans, including Gaia, leaving her nothing but the case of the planet itself, and at the same time reckon the chances of all the Titans imprisoning Atlas and imprisoning Kronos in the hellish pits of Tartarus, he would make the blade of Olympus, forged from all form of power, and with great lightning running through his veins with the lightning bolt, would cast aside all matter of beings within a hellish storm, making the blade of Olympus. From then on, he would reign over the sky, Poseidon would reign over the sea, and Hades would reign under the underworld. With this being said, these three gods would make Olympus the highest plane in all of the Greek myth, his mountain, Mount Olympus, to be the hierarchy plane of their godhood. And with this being said, Zeus would reign for many millennia as a god of all. He is the father of Kronos, Hercules, Hermes, and many more. With this being said, he would be eventually usurped by his own son, being taken out after many different clashes. With this being said, this man tried to go ahead and kill Kratos by having him imbue his powers into the blade of Olympus with his godhood, and from there on would have a fight with him after him fighting his way out of the underworld, fighting past death, and eventually running up on him using time control, and same time fought him in God of War 3, killing him, killing his fear side and everything else. As the only reason Zeus even had fear of any form of possible usurper like his father did was simply put because of the fear that was running wild in the case of the Pandora's Box arc of the story of God of War 3. As you see, when Kratos killed Ares, he opened Pandora's box, and like in Greek mythology, fear, death, and disease laid in the box, a horde power that could never be stopped, but could only be contained for long. To full contain it would be something of ungodly matter. So Hephaestus, son of Zeus, made the Pandora's box and made it to contain it. Inside of this box also, because Athena, seeing the horde mass of power and fury that it could lay, would imbue hope inside of it to collectively make a yin and yang of power to full sealingness. With opening Pandora's box, this man Kratos opened fear onto the world, and it ran off to the gods, where it could full plague about different deeds and actions like no other. With hope, this was given to Kratos in full, and also shone a greater grand scope hope for the world. And with this, Pandora, obviously already existing beforehand, was contained within inside the box in different plane, as she purifies the definition of hope, as she, in the case of Greek mythology, is considered to be the god of hope. With all this being said, Zeus, being overrun by fear and personifying fear, would still be the top dog of the Greek pantheon, and would kill Kratos to not have any possible threat of someone usurping him. As like in Greek mythology, even though in the case of that version, when he had Athena, he swallowed the mother of Athena technically, but Athena, being his daughter, would just pop out of his head, and that's how she was born. He killed Kratos so there would be no possible threat of obviously him dying, as the legacy of God killing God and mother dying by son and father dying by son would not longer. So it's a form of like actual eventualness. As when I say this, obviously I mean for that to go and happen, but the thing is that God killing God or any possible conflict still brewed. So with this being said, this simple fact of no longer having the possible death of him and the cycle of death and deaths of family will no longer so going about continuing, right? So yeah, that's pretty much what I mean in that scenario. But when it comes down to power, besides whole history, Zeus, easily because of scaling over all different forms of the Greek pantheon, having a lightning bolt in hand, having the capability to one-shot Gaia and Kratos at the start of God of War 3, and all different talks of scaling over his grandfather, the case of his father, and all different forms, will be scaling easily. In the case of the low multiversal to easily mid complex multiversal at its greatest consistent high end, as he stands as a god that's able to go ahead and rock with Kratos, who's able to again defeat these multiple form of gods able to counteract his own Blade of Olympus, able to defy different forms of openings in time, different concepts of capabilities, different brew of things, scales over a prime Chronos, scales over old Chronos, is able to stand to the most top dog forms, and would scale over a great plethora of different Norse gods as well, and having conceptual ratio. Obviously has the lightning bolt, which is the most powerful weapon. He's able to boast multiple capabilities of teleportation, duplication. He's able to teleport with lightning as an essence, meaning that he's able to teleport into literal form of light. He's able to fly, obviously. He has super strength, super speed. He's able to regenerate. He can take multiple blow stab wounds. He can regenerate power unlike no other. Absorb infinite amounts of lightning and electricity. He's able to after image. He's able to have precognition with different lightning bolt strikes. And yeah, Zeus is a very powerful, boastful god, without a doubt. When it comes down to speed, his lowest end would be relativistic, too easily, massively faster than light in multiple forms. But scaling the Kratos and over these different people would make him easily, without a doubt, proudly the case of a low end, inaccessible to immeasurable, and maybe, depending on how you perceive with his different arguments and relativation of speed, could be arguably relevant if you believe in different constants, because him scaling over Helios and Kratos sometimes a different counterization, because Kratos is able to scale to the light of Helios, which is able to fill the infinite underworld, aka Tartarus, a land that is infinite in size, making that infinite. He's able to scale beyond time, as Kratos is able to catch up with different time stops, movement, different crack fiend wild capabilities and speed and other capabilities, right? Making him inaccessible. He's able to react to him while he's mid-moving with the speed of Hermes, which is beyond infinity, and has different constants of, helping Kratos do things more with whopping different in time, meaning that, simply put, he will be scaling within that speed, and scaling over multiple form of Norse gods would easily make him reasonably so to be possibly relevant. I think it's consistent just to say that he's inaccessible to immeasurable pretty casually. But, those arguments stand. In conclusion, though, if it isn't obvious, Zeus will be sailing over Radagon in so many ways it's not even possible. Taking his base equipment, which reasonably should be with the Blade of Olympus, but even not, could conceptually erase Radagon, which has been a thing talked about multiple times with Baldur. But to go ahead and explain, as I haven't talked about Baldur on this channel, I could talk about him in the versus battle, or just go over him if y'all want. I don't really think I need to, but simply put, with the case of him, fighting Baldur, conceptual ratio is known as, obviously, your entire existence. Radagon has no counter to this. With this being said, how he would do this with the Blade of Olympus would divulge in and devouring his godly power, as Radagon has been shown that he can be stabbed, and this man Zeus has been able to take the Blade of Olympus and overscale it sometimes by pushing against it. He would be able to go about, taking this power and absorbing all of Radagon's possible godly energy, and depending on how you perceive it, the greater will itself, if you believe that's the fuel to his greatly godly power, as because technically before he was with Queen America, and the fact that he wasn't the same person the whole time and is considered the mortal half of her, aka the reason why there are demigods birthed of her matter of power, that would mean that his godly power would be divulged and destroyed, making Radagon subsequently mortal, meaning that his prime mortal self would not even be of any boast of challenge to Zeus. This would also give the reasonable negligence that Radagon could never also overpower Zeus, as he's way beyond his scale, and nothing Radagon has in his arsenal, regardless if he scales to the 4D spanking or any capabilities, could even stand to him. Zeus is also way more faster than him. It's not even funny. He would overscale him by multiple hacks and capabilities that Radagon has not faced before or could do anything against. And even if you equal the stats, I believe all the hacks of Zeus, his capabilities, his experience, and the fact that Zeus is just so demonstrably way more powerful, this man Radagon could just never stand to him. It would even be a challenge. So, in conclusion, Zeus wins. I know this is probably the obvious answer for y'all. I promise y'all. Again, I don't hate Elden Ring. I mainly did this is because I saw this debated here and there. I've seen some people think Radagon is like the most powerful dude ever, which don't get me wrong. He's very powerful. Don't get me started on the fact that my man Radagon literally deflects the gunshots of Yarnum. But it's like that doesn't mean nothing to Big Papi Zeus. That's the guy who said. But yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed. Let me know what y'all think. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out, mommy. Love y'all.
Zeus was right about you. I just didn't want to see it.
What is this? Are you broken? I am your father. Take the hammer and kill who I tell you to kill.